The focus of the interview, the main thing I'm going to focus on, there's three of them.
I wouldn't do one for Anthony.
You wouldn't? Oh, I can't wait for him to see this then. I'll say, guess what she said. So the focus, there's three things.
That's going to be up there?
Yep. So there's three things that I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to talk to you about where you grew up. I want to also talk to you about the civil rights movement, because as an African American female being born in 1934, is that right? Mm-hmm. You've seen a lot of changes.
Oh, sure.
And I'm also going to talk to you about how you got involved, how you came to Norwalk, and how you got involved in the piece by piece quilting. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's begin by, where were you born?
In Fountain, North Carolina. Well, just in North Carolina.
In North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And what year?
1934.
1934. Did both of your parents work?
Yes.
Okay. I should say this is Ernastine Cobb. It's a beautiful name, by the way, Ernastine.
Well, you know, it's not many people, nobody else in my family, on neither my grandmother family, my grandfather family, or anybody else in the family that has an Ernastine.
Really?
I'm
so
the only one in the family, and my grandmother lived there 92 grandchildren, and all, but nobody ever named one Ernestine.
So your grandfather lived till he was 92?
My grandmother.
Your grandmother lived till, and nobody else has the name Ernestine. It's an unusual name, it's lovely. It really is.
Yeah.
Is any of your grandchildren or great-grandchildren? Nobody. It's a beautiful name. So your parents worked on a farm?
Yes.
Now you talked, and I talked about this previously. It's a hard life working on a farm.
It was hard. I mean, we would get up in the morning, say around 5 o'clock, and we'd go to the fields or whatever, you know,
yeah, and
work, and we would come back in at the house about 12, have lunch. We'd go back at 1, and we'd work until sun was down.
Yeah.
So then once we came up out of the field, it's like feeding the chicken, the hogs, getting in wood, you know, the wood for the night,
yeah,
cleaning the lampshades and all such of that. So
okay, cleaning the lampshades. Why would you clean the lampshades?
Because we didn't have electric lamps.
So what did you have?
We had oil lamps.
Oil lamps. How would you clean an oil lamp?
With paper.
Really?
Yeah.
You used paper to clean it out?
Yes.
And that was your job every night?
Well, between me and my sister.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
So it was just you and your sister?
Me, my sister, and a brother.
Okay, so there were 3 of you.
Well, my brother, like, he would do, like, you know, helping my father, you know, would feed the hogs. And we also had a car.
Yeah.
And so they do that. My mother go in the kitchen and start cooking. My sister and I, we had to bring in the wood for the night because we had fireplaces and heaters.
Yeah.
We didn't have any electric at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that was typical of families in, what was the town's name again?
Fountain.
Fountain. It's a pretty name for a town.
Yeah, Fountain, North Carolina.
And most families didn't have electricity?
No.
But you had a car?
Yeah. Before my father died, he had bought a car. Yes. But before that, we traveled by mule and wagon.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we used to go to church.
Yeah.
And, you know, but mostly I remember by traveling with my grandfather,
yeah,
you know, going back for our church and other places on the mule and wagon. And I can't really hardly remember my father driving the mule and wagon much. But anyway, that was the main way that people traveled, you know, back in 34. I don't know, I guess it was in the 40s, I guess.
Yeah. And that mule just wasn't transport. He also did
Oh yeah, he did. They used them in the fields, you know, for plowing and doing
plowing the fields.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of farming work did you do? You mentioned hogs and chickens. What kind of grains or crops did you plant?
About everything. And we did cotton, tobacco, peanuts, peanuts and corn.
And corn. So it was a big farm.
Yes.
How big was the farm? How many acres?
We did sharecropping. You know, so the white man owned the land.
Okay.
And so it's like, if it was a field that was 3 acres, like the white man had 1.5 acres, and my father had with 1.5 acres.
Okay.
But it wasn't any such thing as 1.5 acres. You know, the field was huge, like by 10 acres or something like that.
So explain to me what sharecropping is. Did your parents own the land, or did somebody else?
No, the white man owned the land, and the white man paid for everything. You know, like the seed and the fertilizer and all other stuff that needed to grow this crop.
Yeah.
These crops. Then at the end of the year, when it come time to selling, why, he would figure out, well, all the bills that he paid for tending that farm, my father had to pay half of it. And I tried to show my father after I was, you know, going to be a teenager. It was my stepfather then, because my father died when I was 7 years old. So he left my mother with a farm, a big farm. And so one of my uncles came to live with us and help my mother, you know, for the rest of the year, you know, to tend the farm. So when I was 9 years old, and one morning we was chopping the weeds from among the ears of cotton. So my mother came back and she showed me, you know, how to do it. So I was going to be smart. I didn't want to do it. So I did for chopping the cotton and everything. So she came back and she said, I'm going to show you one more time. She said, you better not chop this cotton up no more. She said, I only want you to pull the weeds from around the stalk of cotton.
You were taking down the crop.
Yeah, and that's it. So I started working at 9 years old.
Wow, 9 years old.
Yeah, 9 years old.
Very young.
And so it was just me, my sister, brother, and my mother that worked on the crop. But then she had a brother that came to live with us that, you know, did the plowing and all the, you know, heavy work that my brother wasn't old enough, you know, to help do. But we really worked hard from sun up to sundown. We raised in the garden, you know, the vegetable garden. We raised tomatoes, we raised beans, we raised peas, we cucumbers, and most everything. We even raised popcorn.
So, but going back to the sharecropping, did your father and then your stepfather, they sold some of the crop?
Oh yeah.
And then that's how they paid back the white farmer?
Yeah.
What was the white farmer's name? Do you remember?
It was Rural Dilda. R-A-U-L.
R-A-U-L.
D-I-L-D-A.
D-I-L-D-A. Was he a nice man?
Yeah, he was nice, but he cheated my father. You know, the way the white always did the blacks.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
As I said, that's one reason why during my study back from slavery, that's why they didn't want the black people to learn to read.
That's correct, yeah.
And so because looking back into the history, nearly everything that was made or invented was did by a black man.
Yeah.
But he had no money to put himself into business, so the white man took credit for it.
Yeah.
You know.
So you're interested. Before I move on to civil rights, because you obviously sound like somebody who knows about the civil rights movement, who's been interested in it. somebody told me that you were baptized in a river.
Yeah, and not a river. You see that picture there?
Yeah, let me just get the camera, and can I bring the camera over to the picture?